Hello, this tutorial will help with the practice side of density 9.8. So density, it's a very simple formula, and it's just density equals the mass divided by the volume. So all we're going to do for each of these problems is just substitute two numbers into one of these three places and solve for the remaining variable. On some occasions we'll have to determine the volume, but most of these just simply plugging them in. What I'm going to do is just going to help you set these up. So for number one, we've got volume of 25.3, a mass of 217.0, and what is the density? Okay, so density equals mass divided by volume. So density equals 217 divided by 25.3. All right, go ahead and work that out. Make sure you round to your nearest hundredth. Number two, density is 1.69. Volume is 26,400. Wait, I can calculate the volume. So that is going to be mass. So volume is what we're looking for. So density equals mass divided by volume. So 1.69 equals 26,400 divided by volume. So what you're just going to do is switch these around. So the volume is going to equal 26,400 divided by 1.69. That's it. All right, number three. So a solid will float in water if its density is less than density of water. So we're going to tell which one of these various fluids are going to float. So for any of these answers that's less than 1, it's going to float. So we're given the side length, and we're going to have to determine the volume from one side length. And so it says each of these are cubes, and so you're just going to cube each of these numbers. So it's going to be, let me just go ahead and run through these. So 3 cubed, 2.5 cubed, 2.5 cubed, 4 cubed. So that's going to be the volume that you're going to use for each of these. And then what you're going to do is for each one, so cedar, iron, teak wood, ironwood, maple. So density equals mass times volume. So for each one, you're just going to solve for the density. So I'll do the cedar one for you, and then you can do the rest of them, and then you're going to tell whether or not they're going to it's going to float. So for cedar, density is what we're solving for. We're given the mass is 13.5. So 3 cubed. So you would do 13.5 divided by 27. Okay. Really, once you get to this point, you can determine the answer, because if you see that this number is smaller than this number, it's going to be less than 1. So basically, for all of these right here, you don't even have to do this last part. If the mass is larger than the volume, it will float. If it's not, it will not float. So let me see. Wait, the solid will float if it's less than, okay, I apologize. So if the denominator is larger, if the volume is larger than the mass, it's going to float, because it has to be less than 1 for it to float. So this one would float. So we can just go ahead and circle the ones that would float. So again, you just need to, for these next ones, so each of them, again, iron, Indian teak wood, again, it's a mass divided by volume, 12.5 divided by 2.5 cubed, whatever that is, work that out, and then you're going to tell from there. All right, so a solid sphere made of wood has a diameter of 18 centimeters, mass of 3 kilograms, will the sphere float in water? So you're just going to determine the volume or density of this sphere of wood. So you're going to need to convert that. Radius is 9. So you're going to find the volume of that sphere, and then you're going to use that along with the mass to determine the density, and then if it's less than 1, it will float. And then finally, Number 4, density of a silver sphere is 19.5, has a radius of 6.13. What's the mass? So we've got volume, so we're gonna have mass equals density times the volume. So we're gonna find the density and the volume, multiply them together, and that'll give us the mass. So density is 19.5. We gotta find the volume of the sphere, so 6.13. Multiply that times the, or use that in the formula for volume of the sphere, and multiply that by 19.5, and then that'll be it.